What's up, everybody? This is Dominic D'Angelo of adfreeshows.com, SEScoops.com, and OneTrueSportTV.com. And yes, it's me, just me for now. Robert is scheduled to appear here. He'll be here shortly. He is a lawman, so he's got some things to do a little bit, but he will be popping in as soon as he can. But I am here to talk a little bit of pro wrestling the weekend. Real quick, guys, want to say hi to some folks in the chat. That includes Johnny Disco, Good Morning Rumor and Innuendoers, and another one, Greg, the Valen Hammer Time. Another happy Monday, thanks to Dom and Robert. Oh, thanks, brother. Thank you. What I want you guys to make some predictions. What will Robert say about my hat here and my mustache? Give me your opinions in the chat. Yes, Lou, welcome back to the Dom Show. Robert will be here soon. Don't worry, guys. I know. I'm holding down the fort for right now, but we got a lot to talk about. So I think, you just tuned in, Dre. Robert will be here shortly. Anywho, let's talk some wrestling. We had a big weekend in many facets when it comes to wrestling. Lots to cover. I want to see what I should talk about before Robert maybe pops in. I'll give my brief SmackDown review because I did not actually get to watch all of it. So I caught up on a lot of the highlights and a lot of the key taking points. So once Robert pops in, we'll get his full perspective on it. So let's start with that. Cody Rhodes ended up tagging with Kevin Owens to take on what is it? What's the name of the tag team? Something Down Under. Theory Down Under? No. A-Town Down Under? Is that right? A-Town Down Under. Oh my God, I'm horrible. Anywho, tag match, a lot of fun. I really enjoyed what I saw from this match. The hot tag tease with Kevin Owens and stuff. Listen, those two guys are over together. I like Cody Rhodes pairing up with these other baby faces and stuff like that. It really harkens back to baby faces having friends. It seems like a weird thing to say because they should always have friends. But now it's like we were so used to baby faces not having friends in WWE because of Vince McMahon and all that stuff. It just seems so stupid and counterproductive. But now we do have that, and it's cool that there's like these odd misfit allies with one another, and they're working together to get go up against something like the Bloodline. Here, hey, we got Robert.
Hey,
what's up? Oh, you're looking good. That's like you're crystal clear. It's like
I
very
always
vibrant.
Crystal clear. This is great. Yes. Now I feel like I'm like you're starting the show negging me, which is fair. It's fair. I was 2 minutes late, 3 minutes late. Happy to be here, everybody. I'm not sure what Dom talked about. Breaking news: I will not be Kamala Harris's VP pick.
You won't?
No, she heard my take on Hulk Hogan, and she was very upset. Turns out, huge Hulkamaniac.
Wow, really?
Who knew?
Man.
Big surprise, but happy to be here. A lot of stuff to talk about, and I'm 3 minutes late. I didn't mean to cut you off. I don't know what you were at. The master thespian.
That's
Dominic
it.
Angelo.
Well, okay. So I was just covering a little bit of SmackDown. I told them I did not watch all of SmackDown because I was doing the thespian stuff. But
I watched all of SmackDown. I got pull up the notes. I did the research, Dom. I did the homework.
That's right. But I did catch the big hot. Like they had a pretty big clip of the main event on YouTube, so I watched that, and I really liked the dynamic between Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes, hot tag tease, stuff like that. I was basically just covering a lot of that stuff, but I did want to get your full perspective on SmackDown because we got a lot of ground to cover today.
Yeah, so I think SmackDown, we talked about it last week. This was the SmackDown that really had to deliver because next week they're up against the Olympics. Yeah. This was a double taping.
Oh,
so we're not getting into any potential SmackDown spoilers. That's not the world we're in here on Rumor and Innuendo, but it did sort of lead to a lot of like a half a card, like folks that were definitely not active in the first show that were probably active in the second show. The biggest takeaways, the continuation with that Bloodline storyline that I know you were touching on, this idea that anybody who's daring to help Cody, anybody that's daring to step to them is going to wind up getting put on the shelf. We saw that with Randy Orton. We've now seen that with Kevin Owens. Maybe they'll go after that boxer who interfered. Rough weekend for some boxers out there. I don't know if you caught some of the boxing, but hell of a knockout. It was on it was the Jake Paul fight.
I didn't see
one of his protege in the undercard got knocked out in such a way that dude may still be asleep.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so that was pretty special. Elsewhere on SmackDown, there wasn't a lot of stuff announced going into it. We kind of predicted almost everything that was going to happen. The only difference was it was Mishin in there instead of Naomi.
Yeah,
That was the kind of prediction I had. But LA Knight and Logan Paul kind of ate LA Knight's lunch, dude.
absolutely. That was something I was gonna say. It was almost, and I love Karrion Kross. Like, let me say that. But like, you think about what people say about the promo between Adam Cole and Karrion Kross on NXT. Kind of felt like that, right?
Like, I mean, this was, you're a dude out there pretending to be The Rock, doing the bodybuilder gimmick, but all you have is maybe winning the U.S. title when I'm the biggest star on the planet and really rich. But so it was fun to watch.
Yeah,
just because of my love of LA Knight. We all know how much I just love that dude.
You got the sunglasses. I know you do.
He's a hard worker. He's a good guy. He's not the way that he sees himself as, and that's okay. Sometimes guys overvalue and undervalue themselves. I remember back in my day, like Vince gave one of the brass ring speeches. He's done it multiple times. This is a pre-Punk grab that brass ring speech.
On air brass ring speech?
No, in the back.
Okay.
In the back, goddamn, get the roster together. We're talking. And he'd give that speech. And the problem is the guys we needed to understand go grab the brass ring were not the guys going for the brass ring. It's the guys where it's like, look, I love you, Nunzio. You're not going to be world champ, dude. I get that you're ready to step up and do it, little Guido, but you weren't necessarily the target audience for that. LA Knight's a guy who complements a lot of pieces on the show perfectly, but he has not really shown himself to be the guy, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think, tuning into his promos, like, you hear a lot about him. The crowd's still into him, very much so. But the aspect, I just keep hearing, it's just like, okay, you're picking here from The Rock and Stone Cold, shoving something up somebody's, doing all this stuff. It's all still there. There's no more to it. So he was validating Logan Paul's point and all this stuff.
A little bit. Logan Paul feels, it's weird. He doesn't feel different anymore. He feels like a WWE superstar.
Absolutely, he does.
It's like that guy comes out there. I'm not thinking like, okay, this is Logan Paul, celebrity who's entering into the wrestling world. Like I felt that way like when Gronk would show up. You're like, oh, it's Gronk and it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But like Logan Paul is so enmeshed in WWE programming as a character that you just kind of think of him as a guy, and that's okay. I don't think that you're getting a lot of new eyeballs with him as a marquee attraction. His audience is aware of the WWE. They either love it or they're just like, we got to endure it. But as a performer, as a talent, as a guy who gets it, he's just really good.
He is. And like the ironic thing about it is he's running down LA Knight for sounding like The Rock and all that stuff. Here, you could kind of see him go up, like be a perfect compliment to somebody like The Rock disparaging him or a Stone Cold disparaging Logan Paul. Like, he's that good. He feels like he's his own man, his own identity and own persona. Whereas LA Knight is still in this kind of like, hey, I'm kind of being like somebody else here.
Yeah. Logan Paul is perfectly built for a Steve Austin segment.
Right.
Logan Paul out there drinking Prime, and then Steve goes out there, takes a sip of the Prime, spits it in his face, tells him this tastes like crap, stuns him, gets beer, pours the beer all over Logan Paul. Like, that's a fun Mania segment kind of thing. But that's what you do when he's a celebrity. Logan Paul was very much a part of this show. Hopefully he will still be after SummerSlam, but we'll get to SummerSlam previews at a later date and time. And the other big moments, we talked about Carmelo Hayes and Andrade, and I said, Carmelo Hayes is a hell of a talent, hell of a star. Andrade, very good in the ring. He really needs to over-deliver. I thought the match was excellent.
Yeah, from what I saw of that too, I caught some of that. And, the crowd was into it too. And I think like what the goal they had in mind, I think they achieved. in helping further that. You always want to cultivate and continue to grow if you're a star like Andrade, where you want to like establish a personality and an identity. So I think they're taking the right steps, and this was a good first big step for him, I think, in his return for WWE. So I'm with you on that.
I think it worked well. And then, in the main event, nice use of Waller and Theory to at least give them the rub.
Yep.
Nobody thought they were going to win. You're furthering their miscommunication. It's kind of fun. This is a weird thing. It's kind of fun that Cody mentioned their dissent in his opening promo. When they came out there, and Theory's like, my jaw is sore because of what happened, last week with like the bloodline. It's like, no, your jaw is sore because your partner hit you. And sometimes in wrestling, it's like they're like not watching the show, where they don't know what else is going on. So I do kind of dig the fact that that happened, that they're paying attention. And then the bloodline attack at the end, with it being Jacob Fatu as the enforcer and being so dominant. That dude is a star.
He is. He really is. And I do like how they're presenting Solo Sikoa. And I've said that many times on here. I do think the backstage promo that he cut, I think something he kind of needs to be aware of a little bit more is getting a little bit more oomph behind it. You know what I mean? Where it's like, I understand he's kind of playing it undertone and it's kind of embracing that, but I think he needs to get a little bit more like pizzazz behind it in certain ways, just to reach the next level of that thing and fit the role even more. I think a little bit. That's
pizzazz. One week of theater, and all of a sudden you're.
I'm very ham-fisted.
Let's not do that again. But that was SmackDown. A solid show. It's like I saw people saying like it was kind of a forgettable show. To some degree, it was, but it was a good kind of forgettable. You could watch it. It was an enjoyable 2 hours of TV. You did advance your storylines forward. Yes, it's lather, rinse, and repeat with what we're doing with the bloodline, but you need that. You need to make Cody isolated. There's a comment right here from Tony Gong that says, this week on SmackDown, Tonga Loa will kick Cody's dog. Yeah. Dude, Tonga Loa will not fare well against Pharaoh.
No, not at all.
That is a tough dog.
Do you think they're going to do a little eye gimmick with him because Kevin Owens raked his eye really bad? They made a note of that, too.
It didn't register. I don't know that you necessarily want to make Tonga Loa.
That's a Haku move right there.
He did do the Haku move. I don't know if you necessarily want to make Tonga Loa a pirate.
Arr.
Yes, I don't want to be. I don't want her to be a pirate. But that'd be a bizarre gimmick on a weekend where we saw the debut of a bizarre gimmick.
That's right. Oh man, Robert, you've been anticipating this for weeks on end. Hologram has debuted on AEW Collision and looking stellar. Just stellar from a persona look and in the ring. I want to get your full assessment on Hologram as a gimmick.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about Hologram, Dom?
Oh, sure.
What do you know about this massive debut that
this mysterious man that I was very much on my radar pretty much this weekend he was promoted for AEW Collision. I did see little clips of somebody jumping through a portal throughout this past week or whatever. Here's this Hologram character. Apparently, this is Aramis from AAA. He also wrestled in MLW before, so I am aware of his work. But he went up against Gringo Loco, who's also very good, Chicago-based. The match was neat, really athletic, really well done. This, from what I heard, I don't know. This is the scuttlebutt, rumor and innuendo, if you will. So take this for what you will. This is Tony Khan's pet project, and in regards to him actually coming up with a gimmick and putting it on a luchador and trying to make it work. It's kind of weird that it's on Collision, so it's kind of okay. So not putting it in the best light. But Robert, let me get your thoughts on Hologram.
Look, kudos to Tony Khan for creating a luchador. This is what you do when you don't have any luchadors on your roster. Like they don't have Penta or Phoenix or Gravity or Fuego del Sol or they had Samurai del Sol at one point, or an existing relationship with CMLL where you're bringing in Atlantis and Atlantis Jr. and that guy that faced MJF at Forbidden Door.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or Mystico.
Yeah. Or did you mention Commander at all?
Or Commander. I kept trying to think of Commander because I know
How
how much
about
Mike hates Commander.
Vikingo too. Did you mention him?
Vikingo, yes. Look, I'm all for a lot of what they did with Hologram. Creating your own IP, creating a character that the audience can sink their teeth into, merchandise the hell out of him, a luchador that the crowd can get behind, that kids can get behind, a cool presentation. Gringo Loco is a dude that I am over the moon over. Worked with him years ago in MLW. Great guy, tremendous talent. The pieces that I saw, what they did in the ring, look good. Maybe we're going to build on it. But you already have some of the best luchadors on the planet under your umbrella. I think Rey Fenix is a guy who should have been positioned as the next Rey Mysterio. Phoenix is that good of a performer. And if he tells you he doesn't speak English, he's just working you. I think Penta was really, really fantastic. I know whether Penta's staying or not has been up for some debate, but I think Penta is another remarkable talent. The fact that you bring in Mystico, when I think back to the Sin Cara vibes that I get here when they work so hard to build him with the trampoline and the lights and the masks and all the other nonsense, and then he kind of stumbled both literally and metaphorically. Not great. I hope on the WWE side, like Dragon Lee gets that opportunity. I know he was shining and then was on the shelf, and now that he'll be back, we'll see where we go from there. Tony's taken a big swing. He's trying to deliver, and I'm not quite sure if it's going to ultimately satisfy. But guys, if you're looking to take a big swing and you're looking to satisfy, can we talk to you about our friends at Blue Chew? This episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. If you want to be as hard as the summer day is long, then get yourself a Blue Chew and bring the summer heat. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost and in chewable form. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Blue Chew tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped direct to your door. The best part, it's all done online. That means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. Guys, when it's time for your collision with your lady and you want that dynamite to erupt and you want to unleash the dark evolution, Blue Chew wants to help you have better sex. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code RUMOR at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code RUMOR to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this episode of Rumor and Innuendo. And I would be remiss, because I see the comment here from Greg the Valen Hammer Time. No snarky comments on Dom's hat or facial hair. Color me slightly surprised. We've talked about the facial hair. It's available in the archives there, Greg. You can go back and listen to the audio.
Well, I did. I set it up because I was like, what will Robert say about my hat and facial hair combo?
I can't see what the hat is.
It's Charlie Crockett, country singer, $10
okay.
hat.
Look, when someone sees a red hat to begin with, they're
automatically
I know.
When I bought it.
Maybe not the time to wear a red hat, Dom.
When I bought it, after the fact, I was like, wait a second. People are going to kind of think a little something different.
Look, yes, and that guy he's talking about, obviously, Donald Trump, headliner from WrestleMania 23 in the Battle of the Billionaires, in which Vince McMahon picked Umaga. And who was Donald Trump's pick? As I try to get this show back on track.
Yes, it was Bobby Lashley, Robert, and almighty Bobby Lashley. And he is supposedly, maybe leaving WWE. Conflicting reports, Fightful and PWN, which is a Twitter account, I guess that's credible enough. That
That's the standard we've established now.
I know, right?
It's credible enough.
That he is no longer listed on the internal roster behind the scenes. However, Mike Johnson of PW Insider says that he still is listed internally on the SmackDown roster. Same goes for MVP, who is also listed. The same conflicting reports kind of thing. But focusing on Lashley here, there's no confirmation as when his contract actually ends. And then on top of it, too, the thought process behind the scenes, reportedly from all these outlets, is that the expectation is that they will be leaving WWE, and Bobby Lashley still considers himself valuable and will continue to wrestle apparently as well. Do you think this is a big loss here for WWE right now? And do you think this will be a valuable addition to something like potentially AEW if Bobby Lashley were to go there?
So I was there the day we debuted Bobby Lashley.
Oh, okay.
It's in the Working Stiff archives talking about working with Bobby. That first little feud he did with Simon Dean. He is an impressive specimen when you just see him, before you watch him wrestle, before you hear him speak, before you get anything. You just look at that dude and he passes the airport test.
Yes.
He has gotten better over the years. He has learned how to become a more complete performer. But I think that with him, you kind of have the same problem with Sheamus, where there is a ceiling for Bobby Lashley and there is a ceiling for a guy like Sheamus. I think if Lashley is on SmackDown, he is not your world champion. He is not the guy who's going to unseat Cody Rhodes. He is not the guy who's going to unseat Roman Reigns. He is a guy that can absolutely be an upper mid-carder. He can be a name. He can be a guy that can main event an episode of SmackDown. If you moved him over to Raw, we saw what he did with Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. We saw how they were able to repackage him in the Hurt Business. I liked the Hurt Business.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a big MVP fan. I've known MVP for a very long time. I consider him a friend. I think he is really great and has a lot to contribute. The WWE right now just has an embarrassment of riches, and there's only so many people who can be at the top. I didn't love Lashley's pairing with the Street Profits because they didn't follow through with it.
Yeah.
If you're going to turn the Street Profits heel, turn them heel. Crowd didn't want them to be heels.
Mm-hmm.
You have Cedric Alexander and Ashanti the Adonis as a team. You had an opportunity to kind of build a new Hurt Business if that's really what you wanted to go do. Use MVP. Hell, use Omos just as a heater. It's clear that for whatever reason, they do not see him as a main event guy, as a super tippy top guy. If he were to go to AEW, it's become a pattern. Someone is not well used in WWE. They go to AEW, and 9 times out of 10, they continue to not be really well used. And what message are you sending to your AEW locker room? The guys that are there busting their ass day in and day out, that you can be replaced at any time by an Adam Copeland, by a Christian, a Claudio. They brought in obviously Rusev and Malachi Black and all that, but it's challenging. And we saw with Copeland, he had a nice little run and then he got hurt. Lashley has been hit and miss of late because he has been injured several times, and you worry about the long-term viability and sustainability there. If I were to use Lashley anywhere, quite frankly, I would see him back in TNA. I would say, you have this open door, this trip. Maybe you keep the relationship with him with WWE. If you find an opportunity to utilize Lashley, he definitely has value, and he's someone you can heat up as necessary. But if he was in TNA, with the populace that they have right now, I think he could do wonders for them.
How about New Japan?
I don't see that really necessarily working in New Japan long term. I think that's a very physical style that really wouldn't mesh great with him. He needs a few explosive moves, a few power moves, but are you going to be able to get consistent 25, 30, 40-minute matches out of him? Not really.
Yeah.
Maybe as a one-off attraction or one or two attraction, like how they used Brock Lesnar in the past, how they've used certain big men. But also, I don't know that he wants to go over to Japan,
right,
and be away from his family. I think in his mind, he thinks he can be a big star here in the U.S. And why not? You never know. And he's just not content with his current role. So it'll be interesting to see where he lands. But I think if he does land in AEW, he may wind up getting lost in the shuffle. And if he doesn't get lost in the shuffle, you're knocking down somebody like a young guy like a Swerve or an Osprey or an MJF or a Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
I knew it. You weren't going to pay attention.
I
You were
didn't.
just
I
going to
didn't.
say yes. You'd be like, yeah, no, I agree. And then, yeah.
Didn't hit me. I will say I'm also a big fan of MVP. I interviewed him once, and I made my whole 3-minute time length that I had to talk with him about Steely Dan the whole time. So.
Oh yeah, he's a huge Steely Dan mark.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Me too.
Yeah,
so I was like, I have to use it all this time.
We took like a 3.5 hour car ride from Orlando down here, and I heard a lot about how much he loves Steely Dan, and I'm like, that's awesome. I'm not messing up my algorithm on Spotify for it. But actually, we were listening to was God's Hate, which is a metal band that Brody King is in.
Oh really? Oh okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But it's Brody's band. What was even better was I forgot that was what I had listened to. And then when I put my daughter in the car the next day and Spotify turned on and there's just loud, angry screaming. She was not a huge fan.
Not a fan of that one.
But you know who I am a fan of?
Who?
The one time Dolph Ziggler.
Oh yeah.
Another friend of mine from the past. And I think he had pretty eventful weekend.
He had a very eventful weekend. Yeah. It was my headline thing on this show today. He became your TNA World Heavyweight Champion at TNA Slammiversary. Lots of thought that it was possibly going to be Joe Hendry, considering the momentum he's had on NXT and in TNA. But we get Nic Nemeth, and I really don't. Nemeth, thank you. I'm so used to Jets fan Joe Nemeth. That's my
Joe Willie Nemeth.
Joe Willie. Sorry. Like it. But I think it's still a very, very good move on TNA, and I'm very happy for Nick. I think it's well deserved, and he's such a good positive energy when it comes to pro wrestling, and I think he'll exude that as your TNA champion. What do you think of this move by TNA?
So, just to kind of clarify for those folks who may not have tuned in to the TNA pay-per-view, but Nemeth won a 6-way match. He beat Moose, Josh Alexander, Steve Macklin, Frankie Kazarian, and Joe Hendry.
Yes.
Moose was the champion. Moose is a guy that they always kind of go back to as a default. He has been a steady rock for them, which is great. Josh Alexander, obviously former TNA world champion. He's incredible. Steve Macklin, a dude I have seen locally here at the Boca Raton Championship Wrestling. Very, very talented guy as well. Kazarian, always going to be someone who's going to deliver in the ring. And then Joe Hendry. I think they could not put the title on Joe Hendry because of the existing whatever this relationship is with NXT.
Mm-hmm.
So put it with Nic Nemeth. And it's just they have assembled a sneakily great roster.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at some of the other folks on here, Speedball Mike Bailey, who's fantastic. Mustafa Ali. I'm a big PCO guy. PCO, known him for years, think he's remarkable. AJ Francis. AJ Francis is very good at getting people to react.
Yes, he is. You
are not indifferent to AJ Francis, and I think that's a great thing. Obviously, they have Santana, the Rascals. I mean, we got Wesley on the show, which is a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and Ace Austin's another guy, former MLW guy, who's quite good, and Hammerstone worked a dark match for this. I mean, you got Kushida, Swan, dude, TNA. It's kind of insane. This is the beauty of wrestling right now. Like, you've got this roster in TNA. You just had the former Jinder Mahal pop up in GCW. The talent figures it out, and they make themselves big stars, and they make these opportunities for themselves. So much so that we don't even have time to talk about what's on Raw tonight. But it looks like this another kid that makes a name for himself, CM Punk, going to be back on Raw tonight. So we'll have a lot to talk about tomorrow on Rumor and Innuendo, which you can catch every Monday through Friday at noon Eastern on a slightly smaller plethora of platforms. There's still plethora of platforms on the WWE Creative_ish X account, the SE Scoops. Hey, my chair swivels. The SE Scoops X account, and on YouTube on Rumor and Innuendo, Working Stiff, and occasionally ad-free shows when it's not Monday, when it's not that damn Jeff Jarrett or his dastardly producer, the lesser D'Angelo, but Dominic D'Angelo. You produce a number of shows,
I do.
including some folks who just picked up some hardware over the weekend.
That's right. Yes, Straight Talk with the Boss, Magnum TA, Greg Gagne. Every Wednesday we drop now. But Greg Gagne got inducted into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame here up in Waterloo, Iowa. And so he gave a little speech and all that stuff. We have some of that content on One Tree.
Which, by the way, if you have not seen, I saw the still photo of the group.
Yes.
It's an illustrious group. I mean, Tony Gurria's up there, Shivani. Did you see what Arn Anderson was wearing? These people, a lot of people are in suits. They look nice. Arn's up there in a white undershirt. And I love him so much for that. Arn Anderson's the best.
Arn is the greatest.
I dig Arn. He was a blast to work with. Sneakily, very funny guy.
Yeah, he's very funny. Yeah.
Always enjoyed his podcast when it was part of ad-free shows.
Yes.
And he's a look, Four Horsemen guy in the Four Horsemen Network, which is where you can catch Straight Talk with the Boss.
Yeah, and as well. So.
And that's not your only podcast with a legend.
That's right. I have One of a Kind with RVD, and that's dropping today at 4:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Rob cover. We only go for an hour because I had to go my opening night, but we talk about Rick Rude and ECW. We talk about the Ultimate Warrior's farewell speech before he passed away, and then we also cover a little bit of the Hogan situation on Thursday that people have been talking about. So good little episode. Be sure to check it out at rvdtv.com today or wherever you get your podcasts. So check it out. Robert.
Love it. Well, also you can check out Working Stiff. Myself and Scott Chaplin recorded this past week, did a scheduling things. We had to do it sort of a little separate but equal there, both talking AEW, Hogan, and the like. But on behalf of the Elmer Fudd stunt double, Dominic D'Angelo, I'm Robert Karpelis. Best of luck in your future endeavors.
Thanks, you wascally wabbits.